in the rain, in the sun, in the snow. We mow-yo everywhere we go. Hey, it's cold, it's rainy, it doesn't matter. We still mow-yo. And that's what I'm doing today. Transforming every day. Yesterday, I said something to you about the word sincerity. How it came from two words, sin and sere, which means without wax. And I talked about how we oftentimes hide our faults. Transformation is truly about seeing our faults that are evident and taking the steps to correct those faults. Not cover them up like the sculptors did with the wax, but to own them and to understand what it takes to overcome them. Let me give you an example from yesterday. One of my faults can be my temper. Yesterday I had an incident happen where, because of circumstances outside of everyone's control, there was a flood in the surgery center in Tahlequah. And the groups of doctors have had to kind of work with each other and move into smaller spaces than we're used to and basically share. And I walked over to my clinic and noticed that my nurse practitioner, Michelle, had been pushed way over, basically into a closet. And my first thought is, I'm paying rent for this, and they've come over here and pushed her way off to the side. And it made me mad. And so I went over and talked to the people in charge and said, listen, we got to figure something else out, because we're not going to put up with this. We're paying for this space. We're not going to put up for this. And we all talked about it. Got it figured out. Everything I think is going to work out just fine. But here's the thing that struck me. One of the traits that I've been studying lately and evaluating is humility. And I did not exhibit humility. I knew that I had power, and I enforced that power. And that is not humility. One of the things I've read recently, Chip Ingram wrote, is when you're trying to evaluate your humility, think of it this way. Compare yourself to Jesus in that situation. And I can promise you, Jesus would not have responded the way I did. And it was a small thing in that situation, but it became evident to me that I did not handle it with humility. Whether I was in the right or the wrong, I didn't handle it with humility. And one of my good friends, Brian, at the end of the day said, you know, you tolerate things pretty well most of the time, but sometimes it just gets under your skin. And it was his way of saying, you know, that situation, obviously my response was different. And when I look back on that, that's a flaw in that day. That's a definite flaw. So I could cover it with wax and say, I was right. You know, in what I did in my actions, I was right, I was justified. But that's not the point. The point is, I did not act with humility. And if I'm trying to transform, I've got to identify that flaw and address it, not cover it up and try to hide from it. I believe humility is something that we can develop through practicing, through conquering that self-indulgence that we have, that self-centeredness in our heart. I believe it's something we can change, we can practice. And I read in a book last night by David Jeremiah where he said, one of the ways that we do this is we begin to have joy in conquering ourselves. Now think about this. I love to go for a long run. And if I can go out and conquer a hill or a certain run or do a certain pace, I feel joy, I feel strength. I feel like I've overcome something. Well, in the same way, if we look at our flaws and we learn to take pleasure in overcoming our flaws, in conquering ourselves, then we can transform. And that's what this is all about. So yesterday, I learned a valuable lesson, and I'm putting it into practice, trying to overcome a flaw in my humility quotient, and learning to enjoy conquering that in myself as much as I enjoy conquering a run. Every day provides you with an opportunity. Please don't miss that. Little things every day are opportunities to learn, to grow, to transform. Don't cover your flaws with wax. Don't hide from them. Don't brush past them. Acknowledge them, address them, and act in ways to change them and overcome them. Moyo, everywhere we go, make the most of every opportunity to be better every step taken.